Good first day in pads. I'm excited to get up there and watch the tape and really get a good evaluation on how it went. But the one thing I can tell you is that our guys continue to come out here and work every day, and so some things we got to clean up, but overall still pretty pleased.
DA, naked eye, how would you say they handled the conditions and everything else with the band?
Yeah, I thought okay. Man, it's hot and you put the pads on and man, it's difficult. So I thought there was maybe a little bit of a lull somewhere in there, kind of in the middle of practice, but I think overall they pushed through and did a pretty nice job.
Things got a little tense between Peyton Turner and Trevor Penning today. Is that kind of normal this time of year with camp?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, everybody's trying to compete at a high level, and they're trying to make a good impression on the coaching staff, and so that's kind of part of it. But obviously, the most important thing is that we get our reps and we get our plays, and that we're working to get better, and all the kind of post-snap stuff. We're going to try to limit that as much as we possibly can.
Dennis, Alvin is obviously out here today. Do you have any kind of update on where his thing stands?
I don't have any update at all.
Coach, Justin Evans being out of football for a few years, coming back, your evaluation of Justin so far?
Well, I think there's been some days where I feel like he's made some plays that have kind of stood out to me. So that's good to see. He was a second round draft choice, and we had some pretty good grades on him coming out in the draft, and so we felt like that was a good kind of chance to take on a guy, and so far I think he's done a really good job in camp. So I'm excited about what he's doing.
Dennis, along those lines, what about DeMarcus Fields? I'm looking at the rookie from Texas Tech. Like one-on-one he got a pick, and the team, it seemed like he took a
Yeah, look,
him.
I think this is one of those years where I feel like player 1 through 90, like it's a pretty deep group, and so there's a lot of guys like that, young guys that I feel like are guys that we're excited about working with, and so I think he's done a pretty good job, and as with a lot of these young guys.
What have you seen in Alante Taylor since the start of?
Look, a lot of the same things that I saw throughout the spring. And he competes at an extremely high level. He's physical on the line of scrimmage. He made a hell of a play down the field, on a deep route. He's got the right mental makeup, and it's really just about getting comfortable in the system. But I think up to this point it's been pretty good.
When guys like him are he was a high school quarterback type of player, can you see that actually impact a guy's game when they're playing on the other side of the ball? Maybe we're just seeing the field and understanding how all that works.
Yeah, I think look, the quarterback position is probably the most unique position on the field, just in terms of an intelligence level that it takes to play that position. So I think being able to see the game from that perspective, I think probably helps him to some extent. But there's a lot of it that's ability based, and really at the end of the day, it's his work ethic that kind of lets him be where he's at.
Coach Penning was already going after some guys, like the echo of the whistle. Have you had that discussion about him about you gotta be
No, not to this point, because I don't think anything's gotten to a point where there needs to be a huge discussion. Like I was saying a little earlier, I mean, obviously what's important is what we're doing between the whistles, and so we'll evaluate all those things as we go along, not just with him but with all our guys. You kind of get a little bit of that the first day you put the pads on, because then we begin to start playing real football, and so I think you saw a little bit of that today.
DA, Eric McCoy's been in the program for a few years. What are some of the things about him that have stood out and made him the player that he is?
Yeah, he's athletic, he's smart. I think more so than anything, it's just kind of the consistency. You know exactly what you're getting with that player every time he goes out on the field. So, which is a really, really good thing. Anytime we know what we're getting, we feel like we can work with that. So, I like look, Eric's been a good player for us, and excited about where he's at.
Dennis, I almost hate asking because I don't know the circumstances, but is there a certain point when you feel like you need to have Tyron here for continuity, or as a veteran he can pick it up maybe?
Well, look, I think there's a point where that is the case. I don't think we're there, and so again, we're really kind of allowing him, the space to handle what he needs to handle, and we'll be sitting here with open arms when he's ready to come back.
Coach, was this a Pulse Medieval, or was this like the best days of camp so far?
Well, I think he's had some pretty good days. So just coming off the practice field, it'd be hard for me to say that this is, his best day at camp. But he's really stepped his game up, I think, to this point in camp. So, yeah, he had a good day.
Yeah, with kind of bridging off that, with Pat's coming on today, I think the physicality of the corners really stood out. How important is that to this group, and how do you kind of go about processing that?
Well, it's extremely important. That's part of our, process that we go through in terms of evaluating guys coming out of college. We play a physical at the line of scrimmage game with our corners, and so that's why you see the corners that we bring into the program here generally, have some size, have some length, and have a kind of a tough mentality about them.
We got to see Pete Werner back on the field today. What stood out to you about him sort of throughout his process thus far, going back to his rookie year with an expanded role in the way?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we got him, activated today. He did a little bit of individual, I think, today, and some walkthrough. We'll evaluate him as the process goes on, but where he's come from in terms of a rookie to what he was able to do in the spring, he's made some progress, but it was good to get him out there and get going. He's got a lot of work to do, and so we'll kind of evaluate him as he gets a little further into the process.
Dennis, how are you going to work that out with, is it, in your mind, X amount of days you could be outside or inside? If you're not dealing with the fans, I mean, do you look at it?
Yeah.
Like as long as there's no lightning or heat index, you're going to be outside kind of?
There's going to be a good bit of that. I think we'll evaluate it as we go along. I think there's something to being out in those elements, but I'll get you in the air conditioning at some point, Bobby.
You like it outside, though, don't you? I mean, you feel like it has enough value to do as much as you can outside.
I do. Again, it's all about what's best for our football team, And look, we're still early in camp, so there's part of that where you have to, push through the elements a little bit, because there's going to be times in the regular season, that we're going to be tested mentally, and we're going to have to, push through some adversity, and so. The only way you learn how to do it is you have to go through it, and so that's part of the process.
And that's part of your evaluation, who does what, especially maybe at the end of practice, right?
Yeah, it's all part of the process. It's all part of the evaluation process, and so, and look, I thought today was kind of nice out there. So it was an hour and 45 minutes. We spent the first 30 minutes inside, so, but we'll be outside again tomorrow if the weather holds up.
Coach Andrew, y'all spoke Saturday about the impact he can make on special teams. Can you talk about Coach Rizzi and special teams unit, what you've seen so far? Obviously, Will Lutz going perfect, at camp on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I think our special teams is one of the strengths of our football team, and I think Riz and Phil do an outstanding job with those guys. We worked some going in punt today. We had a couple that we got downed inside the 5. We talked the other day in the team meeting about field position. That's part of the game. So all these little bitty things matter, and special teams is an important aspect of the game, and I think we got two of the best special teams coaches in the league working with our unit.
Is that gunner spot opposite JT Gray a spot that a lot of folks are competing for? We've seen a lot of players get reps in rotation.
Yeah. Well, look, there's a lot of spots that are highly competitive, and certainly that's one of them. All good? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.